best. So, man, when's he going to get tired of doing that?
Well, I think we're ready to get back after it here.
Yep. We have customers. The drive-through is open.
And these would be the drafting practice cars.
I like the way that, but you look, now in that first practice, they came out of the pits and they were getting it. I mean, all up on the wheel and took off like they were going to a fire somewhere. Now they come out kind of organized up here. I think they're looking for partners. I'm waiting on my buddy. He's coming, and here we go.
You know, one thing that we do have different at Talladega versus Daytona, because of the speeds are greater here. There's more grip with this racetrack. It's smoother. Is NASCAR actually, and they did this last year, they put a 32nd of an inch smaller carburetor restrictor plate on here versus Daytona. Doesn't sound like much, but for every 64th of an inch they change that restrictor plate, it's 12 to 14 horsepower. So these engines, theoretically, they have about 25 to 30 less horsepower than they had at Daytona back in February with that smaller plate.
So how do you overcome that? Goodyear came with a new right side tire and picked the speed right back up.
But now remember probably why they did come with a little different right side tire. We had a lot of issues here in the fall race.
Yes, we did. We had some right rears that were not lasting like they needed to.
And this track is a little steeper banking, and it's more than a 1/10 of a mile longer around than Daytona.
But I think if you look at the surface, and that's just the stay dry dust, folks. That's not an engine problem back there. But if you look at the surface, look how much whiter it is this year than it was last year. Right after they paved this thing, she was nice and black and had a ton of grip in it. And I'm sure it's probably lost a little bit of that grip. Here we go.
Wide. Here we are again. It didn't take long.
Nah. Well, you can't not do it.
No.
I mean, if you're going to run in this pack, when you get a chance to go forward, you got to go, and you've got to be careful letting off the gas. You'll get run over from behind, and that'll cause a big wreck.
Riding with Denny Hamlin, he was one of the victims in the fall race to a tire failure. Coming up off turn 2, he said it's the hardest hit he's ever had in his life. He was actually leading the race when that happened.
Yeah, Dale Jr., he wiped out. He and Tony Stewart in practice.
Now we're down to a nice calm 3 wide, and 3 wide can be pretty calm around here.
But now you hear what I'm talking about. You hear Jeff kind of get the engine will change tune. Whoa. Well, that 2 car jumped out of line, and he had a little help from the 11. That was ugly. But you hear Jeff working the throttle, and that's what you do. You work the throttle just slightly, but you drag the brakes a lot here to keep in line. Uh-oh. What's that noise?
Something's rattling around there somewhere. That was interesting.
I think there's a couple of cans of Pepsi rattling around inside there somewhere.
But you can hear the RPM. It almost never changes, even in the middle of the corners. Turning in the draft right now with this restrictor plate in this gear, it's turning maybe about 8,400, 8,500 RPM.
But see, that's what fools you. When you're sitting there playing with the throttle, and then all of a sudden you get a chance to hold it wide open, you say, man, I can pass all these guys now. It doesn't work that way.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice brought to you by Toyota. For the latest Toyota racing info, visit toyotaracing.com. Toyota, moving forward. And by KFC. Stop by this coming Monday for a free piece of new Kentucky grilled chicken. Here comes Marcus Ambrose.
Just what an amazing job this guy is doing for Michael and that team. Marcos has run good every week. If he hadn't had a couple of engine failures, man, he'd be right up in the middle of this thing.
We were talking earlier about mirror adjusters and how, for the most part, those mirrors are not cockpit adjustable. Matt Yoakum with more.
And Mike, a couple issues for Ryan Newman, similar to his teammate Tony Stewart. issues getting the car to suck up to the car in front. They'll work on that during this practice session. And also, at the conclusion of this practice session, one of the crew members, Jake Ranieri behind me, who typically works inside the race car in the driver comfort area, he'll work with Ryan on the mirror across the top. Apparently it's vibrating. They'll add some more washers to try to cease that vibration. And you know, this is a good opportunity to look at their pit box here in the garage stall. They got a big magnet that can put 5/8 wrench, just magnetize it right up on the deal there, easy access. But you know, you're in Talladega, the most important tool of all. And they should weld this to the toolbox, I think, if I were those guys.
I would say the luck they had in Daytona, I would hang horseshoes all over that toolbox because they had a very trying speed week.
They don't weigh as much as tungsten, but you could hang a couple in the car.
Every time I see a horseshoe, I wonder where it came from. I mean, somebody lost one.
You know, Daryl, I think what Matt was talking about, that during this downtime before the next practice, they're going to work on that 39 car because it's not pulling up or sucking up in the draft. You were talking earlier about the air box, and what that is, that's about a 2.5 by 20-inch hole in the center at the base of the windshield, and it feeds air to the carburetor. And you're very limited on what you can do with that opening in the air box that shoots air into the carburetor, but you can change the shape and configuration. Sometimes it may want a different air box configuration for qualifying by yourself than racing. Of course, here you're going to have to qualify and race the same air box, but that's something that you can definitely tweak on and work on.
Yeah, it's real sensitive, that is. And I mean, I've been to the track before and changed it 10, 15 times, just different angles, different ways that it shoots into the carburetor. And just that can make all the difference in the world of how a car sucks up and how it runs.
Boy, Jamie Mack got a shot there. He took off from in front of Jeff Gordon, and the 26 pulled right up behind Clint Boyer, who earlier had broken out of that pack much the same way. Now Jeff comes right back at him, but
I tell you who I've been watching, Mike, is a 20 car of Logano. He's been real cautious, but that car will run. I've seen him pull out a couple of times and make some passes. Whoa, this is big.
That is the team. That is the team that won the race here in the fall last year with Tony Stewart. That 20 team.
Yeah, I was going to say, Daryl, when did Greg Zipadelli not bring a really fast car to Talladega?
I don't know. I just saw 5 cars wide. I don't know how they did it. I guess they're on apron. Yeah, that's what I was saying. The car looks a lot better here than it did at Daytona back in February when he was having his hands full with that thing. Looks a lot better and more stable here.
You know, Daryl, as we watch these cars 4 and 5 wide, I was reading some quotes from some drivers about this car versus the old car. Of course, we've been racing this car here now. This will be the 4th time. But it's a move that Dale Earnhardt Sr. kind of made famous, where you go up and you do a side draft off of a car. It speeds you up and slows that car down. And this driver was saying that the side draft, when you go up against a car by himself, it really doesn't slow him down like it used to with that old car.
Yeah, you know, we've said the middle has sort of been the sucker hole. They say this car really likes the middle, that you can really make a lot of good passes going up through the middle of the 2 lines, and that's why you see that more maybe with this car than we've seen in the past.
We did see that a good bit at Daytona, Daryl, where a driver would we thought get stuck in the middle. Some would go backwards, but some actually would be able to improve their position there.
Here you go. Push, push, push.
Coming through. Excuse me.
Got it made, boys. He's coming to the front.
F-18s were out doing